Welcome to another episode of Relationship Rewire, and my guest today is Debbie Boggs. I've known Debbie since, since I've known anything. She's my sister, and she has a company called By Design, and I'm going to let you explain because you have more than one business going there, that they're both related.
Right.
Go ahead and tell us what that is.
So most homeowners, when they're selling their home, they have trouble getting the most, netting the most profit. And so we have a system that helps them get the most money in the shortest amount of time. And it's home staging. And then that's By Design, our local staging company. And then we also have Staging Studio, which is where we train stagers and realtors about staging.
Okay. And I need to give a little shout out to Julie, your partner.
Yes.
Julie Young, her husband, is one of my best buddies as well. So, okay. So we were trying to figure out. There's a lot of issues. You're running into people that are in transition. They're selling their home, or they're looking to make their home look better. But a lot of times they're selling their home because there's problems in their marriage. They're getting a divorce or something like that.
Yeah, that seems to be a really common thing, that, a divorce, the breakup of a marriage is most of the time going to result in selling a home. So we have a lot of clients that's the situation. And then it's also a lot of times the reverse. The stress of moving and selling a home and everything puts a strain on the relationship.
Yeah. And
it's funny, we're in the most personal, private spaces of people's homes. The places that their guests don't even go, in their bedrooms and their closets and their bathrooms.
Right.
And people tend to tell you things in those spaces that they wouldn't tell you out in the entry hall. You have more intimate conversations in those more intimate spaces, and so they end up telling us a lot of the things about their life, personal things, and we get to know a lot of what's going on behind the scenes. And
because that's one thing that I've learned about what you guys do over the years, is that you've tried to be intentional about your business, not just being about making money, but about helping people. But you also give back. You've committed part of your business that gives back to a lot of things. Tell me tell me about that. How do you give back? What do you do? What's your?
Well, we have on our website, we've got 3 different nonprofit partners that regularly 10% of our courses that we sell, it goes to one of those partners. And this month, though, for the month of Valentine's, for February, any of those sales, 10%, and 10% of any new vacant stages also goes to the Growing Love Network. So this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast with you, is because I want our clients to know where the resources are.
Great.
And what you have to offer. And I got to tell you, John, that thank you for what you've done in my marriage. Because, as you know, Randy and I went through a rough patch or two, and the ministry that you do, that really made a huge difference for us, got us through that, and now we have not just a good marriage, but we have a great marriage, and so I really want to thank you for the work that you've done.
I want to say something about that, because you guys, you didn't wait till it got terrible, which most of the couples that we deal with, they wait to do something until it gets really bad, but you guys were proactive. You said we need to grow. So you've taken, at least that I know of, at least 2 different marriage classes that we've trained people to do, and then you've led some of those yourself to help keep.
That was for our own benefit.
Yeah. Well, Joanna and I did the same thing.
So we keep on getting exposed to the material and let it really sink in.
Oh yeah, which sometimes it takes. Well, for most people, it takes. You got to keep being exposed to it. And so when you started, we started talking about doing this for February and doing a podcast. I was going, what in the world do these two have to, home staging and marriages? And when we started talking about it, it's like there's a whole lot of crossover.
There's a lot, yeah.
You were telling me about some of these new trends in home staging. Mm-hmm. One of them was like,
don't even try to say these words.
Yeah.
You're not going to be
hygiene or something like that is what it looks like.
No, think hug.
Huggies. Huggy.
Hugga. It's a Scandinavian word. Yeah.
Scandinavian
so one
huggies.
Of the, every year we do the trends, the upcoming design trends, and this year for our 2018 trends, one of the ones comes out of Scandinavia. It's the idea of coziness. Hugga means cozy. And, we've had this...
So Huggy, if you can't remember...
There you go,
okay.
Huggy, okay.
It kind of looked like Huggy.
But, after the big open concept floor plan has been a big thing the last few years, well, now people are going, okay, that's really cool, but I want it to be cozy. So now we're having the tiny house phenomenon.
Yeah.
And people are trying to create micro zones within their open floor plans. It's really about conversation and communication.
Yeah.
Little places to sit down and talk together, little nooks.
I like that trend because, for it seemed like a couple decades, rooms were just getting bigger and bigger, and you walk into a place and this is nice, but it's like a big giant ballroom, and
exactly.
It doesn't feel like a home. It feels
exactly. It's kind of inhibits conversation even when it's just so big and spread out. Yeah.
So that's Hugga.
That's Hugga. So another one that we talked about was Kinsui. It's also called Kintsugi sometimes. So this is an ancient Japanese philosophy that there is beauty in brokenness. And I've thought a lot about marriage as I've been thinking about this trend, and I'll get you to comment on that in a minute. But it's the idea, it comes from this old story of this Japanese ruler who had this treasured dish or bowl. And at some party, some servant accidentally dropped it and broke it. And everybody, hush, oh no, what's he going to do? Because he was kind of known for his fits of anger. But the court jester made a joke out of it and wrote a poem and a song about it, and everybody breathed a sigh of relief. And then somebody took those pieces and used gold to mend that bowl together, so the cracks became solid gold, and it became a thing of even greater beauty for having been broken. And so, what do you think? How could that relate?
Oh, that has so much. I mean, I'm working with at least one couple a week, and especially the ones that come to our 3-day intensive love reboot, where we see them, 2-3 years later, and they report to us their marriage is better now than it ever has been after they've gone through something really tough. In fact, I always say I've never seen a good marriage that's only been married 2 or 3 years. They might be going in a good direction, but until you've gone through some tough stuff together and weathered that together, those are the things that really make your marriage beautiful. When you roll over for the 10,000th morning, and you've been through some rough stuff together, and you see that person still there next to you, then there's something really strong and bonding. Even if you've had an argument the night before, that you know what, this person is still going to be with me, no matter what. And that there's a strong bonding there that you just can't get without having been broken, without going through some. The best marriages have been through some tough stuff together. Joanna and I have been married for almost 33 years now. And we've had 3 different houses and several apartments and things like that. And Joanna loves to decorate.
She's great at it.
She's really good. Well, this is her doing here. But she also likes to invite her sisters-in-law and her sisters into that process too. And when that's happening, I know that I just stay out of the way until it's time to hang something, mount something. But and there's a bit of me that has some opinion. You know, I'm not so good with what colors go with what and everything, but so in the next room over is my study, and my study is
Is it your man cave?
it's in a way it's my man cave. It doesn't look like a man cave. There's no Michael Jordan posters on the wall, or beer neon signs or anything like that. But so I'm thinking that one of the tensions, in fact, one of the biggest struggles we hear people talk about, they have money problems. A lot of times when there's money problems, below that is really a deeper issue, which is power struggle. And I bet you see this a lot just with when you're working with a couple, of them struggling over how we're going to design this house, how we're going to set up this room, down to just where's that picture going to hang, or is it going to hang there? And it seems to me like the more, well, I should say it this way, the less that they're sharing power, the more little tiny issues are going to become big issues.
Right.
Like if they know that where we're putting things, that if for example, if I know that Joanna is thinking about, would Jon want this here? Would he be okay with it here? Then it matters way less to me than if I think she's totally disregarding me and just putting it where she wants.
Right. Yeah, I think that's kind of some of the key in making those decisions together about where things are going to go. Because, of course, you're going to have different opinions about it, and it does often come down to that power struggle. So, and you can probably answer this question better than I can, but in making those decisions, seems like that some of the important things to look at in it would be, first, respect.
Yeah.
Respecting each other and really caring, like you said, about what the other person's desires are, and then listening intentionally. Okay, what is it? Trying to get to the bottom of what. Okay, I know you say you want that there, but why? Let me understand what's behind it. Maybe, and then come up with a win-win.
Yeah, I think that the more that each person, the more that my spouse can see that that their say has just as much as my say, then the things that don't really matter so much to them matter even less.
Yeah.
But if you're dealing with a couple where, every decision seems to be one that's way over here and another one's way over there, it's probably not about the issue of that item
that
or that
thing.
room
it's
or whatever.
The balance of power.
It's that they're not sharing power. And Joanna and I, this was us 25 years ago. Every little thing was a power struggle, and so it really mattered to me. I fought for form on every little issue, and she fought. I fought for function on every little issue. She fought for form, and not just in our decorating. And I would intentionally, if we're going to something that really mattered to her, and she's dressed to the nines, I would intentionally put on something that's just totally functional, comfy, functional, and didn't go together. And I knew it, and just to let this. You're not going to tell me what to do. And but then once we started working towards sharing power more, then not only am I thinking about what would she be okay with, when I'm going to put my clothes on, even when I'm buying my clothes, I'm going,
what would she like?
Yeah.
Well, this brings up one of the strategies that we use in staging, because when somebody's buying a house, they're looking for a better life. They're looking for a new chapter in their life. So they want a home that makes them feel like their family time is going to be better, their marriage is going to be better in that house. And so we use some strategies specifically to give that feeling, to convey that idea that life's going to be better there. So, and one of the things is that balance of power. We stage it so that there's a balance of genders, and there's a lot of we use.
Is that the same thing as gender neutral?
No,
Okay.
No, not the same as gender neutral. It's a balance of genders.
Okay.
Having some what we would typically think of as masculine elements, as well as some feminine elements. And of course, there are gender neutral in there too, but a balance of those, and using a lot of symmetry to create that balance. For example, in the master bedroom, we always use matching nightstands, matching lamps, matching pillows. So it gives this sense of peace and harmony, and it's not a conscious thought, but when buyers walk in, they think, my marriage is going to be better in this house.
Yeah.
You know? So we use little tricks and strategies like that could be used also for people that are designing their house if they would think about balance and, you know.
Yeah, so this is one of those things that, you know, I mean, I thought of some, but not near as much until you and I started talking about doing this podcast. But it's what you're saying, and I wouldn't have thought about it before, but I now wholeheartedly agree, is that the way you design a room can have very powerful influence on your relationship.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You think about in your living room, the way it's laid out. You know, if the seating is all individual chairs, you know, loungers or whatever, recliners lined up in a row facing a TV, that's not very conducive to conversation and community. And right now, you and I are sitting our faces are about 4 feet apart, and that is by design.
So this setup is by design.
This is by design, yes.
BY
so
design.
The optimal conversation distance, and this is one of the things that we learn in design principles, is 4 to 8 feet. Yeah. So if we were more than 8 feet apart, it'd be really awkward and uncomfortable having a conversation. So we need to set up our living spaces so that the chairs are within that distance apart. But too often we see them way spread out, especially like we were talking about in these open floor plans, you know. They're set up with these massive conversation distances, and it really gets in the way of intimate conversation.
Makes awkward.
Yeah.
What do you think about man caves?
Man caves. Well, what do you think about she sheds?
I haven't heard about she sheds. What is that?
Then you haven't been listening.
No, I haven't.
It's the female version of the man cave.
What would a she shed look like?
Well, it'd be a lot prettier.
A stereotypical she shed.
You know, it's the same as a man cave. It's a place to retreat and kind of do your own thing, and you get to have it the way you want.
It's got a lot of candles and
you probably candles,
okay.
And you have your whatever you're into, your reading corner or your painting easel or whatever is your thing. You know.
Yeah, I think that'd be okay as long as there's a man cave also.
But the problem with those is that then you tend to isolate yourself. You know, if it becomes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I love the idea of people having their space to do their thing and work on their passions.
Yeah.
You know, but if it becomes a place that every single night you separate and isolate and go off to your separate corners, then that's not very healthy for that communication. And family.
So coming back full circle, if somebody's thinking about getting a she shed or a man cave, that should be something, again, that it's both, that you're sharing power in. And that doesn't necessarily mean that that we're both going to decorate this together, but the other person knows, okay, they're still going to respect me in what they're going to do with this space. And it's going to be a thing that supports our relationship, not deters from it.
Yeah.
Tell me more about this whole thing about creating. You talked about symmetry, but what else would you do that when you're thinking of what's going to help a relationship?
Yeah.
In the way you design a space or decorate a space.
Well, our home should really be a haven. It should be a sanctuary. It should be the place that you come home to. It's the peace and away from the chaos of the world. So if there's a lot of disorder and chaos in the home, it really makes it a place that's not inviting to be at. And it can be little things like a place to keep your keys. If you have a regular established place to keep your keys, then instead of the last conversation every morning being,
"Where's my keys?
Where's my keys? You move? You're always moving my stuff."
Yeah.
If you can, whatever are the tension points like that in the marriage, a lot of them come from simple things like that. Where can we see a place of stress? What can we do to eliminate that little piece of stress and not have that same fight every day?
I was dealing with a couple some years back, and they were actually at one of our 3 days. And in that third day, during one of the breaks, they came up and said, "We're leaving." And I said, "What for?" And then they started attacking each other. Well, you want to go? No, I don't want to go. You're the one who wants to go, and you're not putting into this. You're not putting it, And in that conversation, I just kind of let it go for a minute because I was trying to observe and see what kind of things they're doing that are destructive. So I let it go for maybe a minute and a half. Every time that she started talking, she would get maybe 7 words out of her mouth and he would interrupt. And then when he was talking, she constantly rolled her eyes.
The contempt.
Yeah, and anyway, so I stopped them finally and I said, "Is this how you usually interact?" Yeah, they both, yeah, okay.
This is how it goes.
So I said to the husband, "You usually interrupt her before she finishes her sentence." And he's like, "Did I do that?" I said, "Pretty much every time." And you roll your eyes, whenever he's giving his viewpoint. She said, "Did I do that?" And I said, I like 20-something times, in the last minute and a half. Anyway, 8 months later, they were doing a class, and we were sharing, and she said, "Let me tell you how much the little things matter." John pointed this out 8 months ago, and that I rolled my eyes, all the time. And she said, and I didn't realize I was doing it, and so I've been making a real conscious effort not to do it. And she said to him, "How many times would you say I rolled my eyes in the last 8 months?" And he said, "I don't remember a time." And she said, and that little thing has made all the difference in the world in our communication. So
the little tiny things,
right? Yeah, and so Gottman talks a lot about the harsh startup. So that's what I was thinking about when you're talking about the keys. I mean, if you're starting your day, the last thing that you do before you go off your separate corners for the workday is to have an argument about the keys.
Yeah.
Well, what's left in your mind about the other person all day is a negative thing.
That's negative that carries through all day.
Something as simple as having that
and then
right place.
Then you don't spend your day looking forward to returning to that place.
Right.
Either, because that's a place of pain. I just left. The last thing before I left was painful. What's it going to be like when I get back there?
Yeah. That's what you just said is huge, because there are so many people that the last place they want to go to at the end of the workday is home.
Right.
Because they don't see it as a safe haven. And what I mean by safe, for most people, I'm talking about a place where they can go and feel accepted.
Yeah.
And so when you're talking about having, like, it just came to my mind, wouldn't it be great if every home had a room where in this room we don't try to solve issues. We don't bring up, we don't confront each other about things that we think we need to grow in or get better at or quit doing or whatever.
This is a safe
This
room.
is a
well,
safe
that's probably
place.
why people have man caves and she sheds.
Yeah,
because they think the only way to get that haven is to have their own separate space.
Exactly. Yeah. So maybe there should be a us shed or us cave.
I like that.
Where and this is something that I do with couples is you've got to spend some time every day this is what dating is. We tell people when you're dating, the rules are you don't bring up issues, you don't solve problems that don't have to be solved right then. That there's a safe place, that only conversation is what's it like to be you, and then just the only feedback you give is acceptance. You find some way to accept what they're saying, and so there's that safe place. And I think that's what you're talking about. That all of this, there needs to be something. There needs to be some kind of semblance of this is a safe place for me to be me, and I'm not going to be judged by you. I'm going to feel accepted by you. Yeah.
And it should be a place of joy and delight. Like think about the five senses and how our home should delight the five senses. So first of all, it should be a place of beauty. And that doesn't mean, I don't mean by that every home should be professionally decorated. But beauty of what is beauty to this family? Is it the kids' artwork on the walls?
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Is it the plants that you tend? I don't know. What is it? What is it that makes that space beautiful to you? Organization. If everything being neat and tidy is a high priority to you and that's beautiful to you, then that's touching on that sense of beauty.
Yeah.
Then the sounds in that home. Is there music playing?
Yeah.
Are the sounds that you hear, is it laughter and encouraging words?
Yeah. Joanna knows that I love Josh Garrels. She likes a few of the songs, but I know, like, one of my best is to come in the door and she's cooking dinner and she's got Josh Garrels. It's like she's making it inviting for me.
She knows what makes you happy, and yeah. So the other senses, talking about cooking, having food, yummy smells.
Yeah.
And I got to confess that I probably haven't cooked a real meal in about 5 years. so I'm not, it could be takeout, but it's where you're going to be nourished. Your body is going to be physically nourished with food in this place. So that's the taste, and it's going to be good and healthy, and and then the smells of food, of candles burning,
potpourri.
Potpourri. Yes.
Potpourri.
Man, I haven't even used that word in decades.
What do they call it now?
I don't know. I guess we would use essential oils or something now. I don't know.
Yeah. Diffuser.
There you go, diffuser.
This room smells diffused.
But so the every sense, each of our senses is delighted in this space, and then of course the sense of touch.
Yeah.
That
you get a touch when you get home.
You get touch. You get physical affection in this place.
Yeah.
But if we can kind of intentionally think about those five senses, and is our home delightful in each of those five ways, it makes it more of a sanctuary, more of a place that you look forward to coming home to.
Side note on that, oxytocin.
Yeah.
It's the neurotransmitter that helps you feel bonded to something. It's both the mother and child have oxytocin release when they're breastfeeding.
Yeah.
And actually both partners, when they orgasm, they have an oxytocin spike. But you also get oxytocin from positive, caring, loving touch. So the more that you touch, then the more that you feel bonded. So that's why, just a kiss before you leave every day, a hug when you come home, a touch. Yeah. It does a whole lot.
It actually kind of does a thing in your brain that rewires it.
And a little extra.
That's a relationship rewire, is what you're saying? I feel like we could talk about all of this for a long time, because, as we're talking about relationships and talking about the home, they're so connected. You can't have one without the other, really. When a couple wants to make a life together, they make a home together.
Yeah.
And so the two concepts are really very interconnected.
Oh yeah, super interconnected. So, go ahead.
Well, I just want to say that for any of our clients and our staging studio community that know anybody who's struggling in a relationship, I just really want to encourage you that there have somebody who has been through that and has gotten help. I just want to encourage you that there is help, and tell us some of the resources that you've got for that.
Well, our website is growinglovenetwork.org. We're a 501c3. So our main, probably what people best know us for is Love Reboot, our 3-day. We call it the most important 3 days of your marriage. Mm-hmm. And that intensive is, we have about half the couples that come get scholarship assistance. I work with a lot of couples, 1-on-2 or 1-on-1 with people. We do another thing, a retreat that's called My Love Lasts. In fact, we're doing one in a week and a half. And
you have really great soft T-shirts with that too.
Oh yeah, and we need to get
my
more
son-in-laws love the T-shirts.
But yeah, so we're doing one of those. There's a church in Vidor, Texas. They got hit really hard by the Hurricane Harvey, mm-hmm. and they said, 3 months after the hurricane, they said our biggest need now is the marriage. Everybody's living. Again, this is perfect with what we're saying, because they're all living in FEMA trailers or with
their homes have been destroyed.
Right, and they're not living in their home.
Right.
And it's putting a lot of strain in their marriage, and so they said, but we need a marriage seminar, but we can't afford it. So we said, mm-hmm. This is perfect time with what you guys are doing. Mm-hmm. So we'll raise the money and come down there and do it. We've already got almost 75 couples signed up, and so that's going to be a neat thing.
So see, there you go. If there's something that you've been wanting to do for hurricane victims, this is something that you can do, is help to provide scholarships for those families.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can get on there and donate, and you can actually let us know if you want it directly going to that or mm-hmm. to the scholarship fund for couples to come to Love Reboot. And then we have this podcast, Relationship Rewire, that mm-hmm. Is averaging a little over 700 downloads a day, which is blowing our mind. Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Awesome.
So, Betty is what we call Debbie, because my youngest daughter, when she was little bitty, she
couldn't say Aunt Debbie.
She's 21 years old, yeah, and she would say Betty, so she's known to the rest of us Betty. Betty, thanks so much for being on here, and thank you for what you guys are doing, how you're giving back to the community and to people who giving back to the world.
Thank you for
how you are. And you can find them at, tell us your website again.
So stagingstudio.com is the training for stagers and realtors, and lots of free resources and stuff on there, fun stuff. And then By Design SA, as in San Antonio, that's our local staging company. You
guys have gotten some awards for some national awards for your staging stuff.
Yes, we've been named top 5 staging companies in the country.
All right.
And, some other things. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. So as long as you're not setting up shop in San Antonio, then check that. No, I'm just kidding. Well, thanks so much for being on.
Thank you. This has been great.
It has.
Fun to work with my brother.
Love you.
Love you.